Blog Talk Radio.
If you got it, then flaunt it, and be loved and you taunt it. Just 'cause you know I'm on it. I see through your disguise. It's all in between your eyes. It hides in your lies and your shitty alibis. I know you ask me, is this nigga for real? My passion beats through my zeal to make all my haters kneel. Lick the shit off my heel. I sit upon a gold throne, has made of microphones and crushed up bones. I turn your headphones into the Astrodome. At game time, rain or shine, I shine just like the jet reclines. I find when I walked into the door, looked at me and you was looking kinda sore. But I asked what was wrong. You didn't want to tell me, but then you just started yelling at me. But I started walking through the door. No more will you talk to me like that, 'cause we not even in it like that. Yo, yeah, can we be friends without fucking? Can we be cool without it leading up to nothing? Can I know that you not trying to flip it, try to set it up like I was trying to hit it, or play it like I rejected it? Just maybe you could keep some respecting it. And now my name and character, you trying to reckon it. Yo, I would be your friend, but now I'm hesitant. Hey, yo, the cries of a broken heart fall like leaves, and that they fall to the ground and blow away in the breeze. The women fall to their knees 'cause they lost the keys of forgotten innocence. We like not chomp, but incense. Pretense, past tense, present tense. Around the heart she built a fence, and you set to the defense. And ever since, any man or woman tried to love her, they preyed on her common sense. But as a queen born, she's still a woman scorned. She gotta make it right, but how can if he's gone? The bigger the road, the smaller the thorn. That's how the shit goes down in the hood where you trying to be around. For a shorty that is not your girl, but that's the how it go in society or world. But I'ma be there for you, even though I don't like all the things that you putting me through. But yo, yeah, can we be friends without fucking? Can we be cool without it leading up to nothing? Can I know that you not trying to flip it, try to set it up like I was trying to hit it, or play it like I rejected it? Just maybe you could keep some respect in it. And now my name and character, you trying to reckon it. Yo, I would be your friend, but now I'm hesitant. Hey yo, don't blame the baker when the butcher baked the bread. When you need to go, but your light's on red. I'm trying to be your friend, but it's hard to ignore the little subtle glances when you walk through the door. The closed door of hugs, but your eyes are saying more. Cool with my queen, however, what's it really for? Or is it just me? Am I bugging? Is all the time we spending together? Yo, is it leading to fucking? But yo, something ain't right, so I'ma be polite and bow out of the friendship gracefully and the friendship tastefully. As I walk through the door, I realized the floor. In that moment, I was a man walking out the door. Then she started screaming at me like she did before, as if I was the man she was really looking for. I chose to give her the floor. As I walked in the night, I hoped that she would be alright. But yeah, can we be friends without fucking? Can we be cool without it leading up to nothing? Can I know that you not trying to flip it, try to set it up like I was trying to hit it, or play it like I rejected it? Just maybe you could keep some respect in it. And now my name and character, you trying to reckon it. Yo, I would be your friend, but now I'm hesitant. Hey yo, can we?
Peace, Hotep, Salam Alaikum, rejoice. Thank you everybody for coming through to another installment of Super Heru Radio. I am your host, Aseer the Zucateers, along with my co-host, Selena the Impetus, 10,000 Years, my brother, Saga Asar, and, little Amour's sleeping, thankfully. Hopefully everybody's children and families and groups, grandmothers, everybody is good, even if they may be hating on you at the moment because you may be the only one with consciousness in your family. So, we want to give respect to them and leave them in their own ignorance, but then also give you Satuan Tur for you, meaning thank you and give thanks for being the one with consciousness in your household, in your life, to be able to come here and commune with us, with your greater family and consciousness. So as we always do, we also want to give respect to the ancestors and those people who are fallen. Brother Gil Scott Heron decided to make his return trip, and to follow him a little while after Brother Geronimo Pratt. Respect to him, a soldier and warrior in the whole greater scheme of the schemes being perpetrated against our people, both at home and abroad. And definitely respect to him. Definitely want to give a hopefully feel better to our brother Sean Kingston, who got caught up a little bit too much in the dance with Yemayar and wound up crashing into a bridge on his jet ski. So him and the young lady that they went through, hopefully they'll get better. There's a certain degree of as people of consciousness, as people of awareness, we must, I think, also practice a certain degree of generosity in terms of our power of blessing and who sometimes we may bestow it to. Because sometimes God loves regardless. You know what I'm saying? So in that, if we are archetypes of that potency, we must sometimes, or at times when needed, sometimes bestow a certain degree of blessing to those who may not do the same for us in terms of enemies or nemesis. Sometimes we must bestow a certain degree of blessings to them too. You know what I mean? Because in that, it then negates whatever negativity that they are working to work against you. But the trick is to do it just to do it, not to do it to get them not to do what they're going to do, because they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. Yet, all men and women are held accountable to what they say they're going to do. So, whatever you say you are in this experience is what you're going to experience. So, again, if you claim to be something, you should really be that, because if not, everything in the universe is going to work to turn you into that. So, again, man is the food for the divinity he worships. And man then worships things that he covets. And man and women covet what they are presented with or see every day. Therefore, a person can see you every day and be your friend and still hate you. You understand? A person can be in your life and love you and hate you just as much as they love you, and show you the equal amount of both of those extremes of polarity within a conversation that don't even be an argument. Yeah. So enemies are like plants. They grow over time. So you must always work to not be that if enemies do occur and do come into your life, may it come from the perspective of you not doing things to purposely agitate that experience or that exchange from that person. So again, like I said earlier, it's a coveting thing. And to covet is to, again, pine for that which you see all the time, but you don't have necessarily direct access to it. So different people in different spheres of influence covet different things. Therefore, what most worldly people covet is power, or what they perceive power to be. Yet the implementation of that and the acquisition of that power is sometimes more about what they are willing, not so much what they're willing to do, but how far they're willing to go with shit. So it's very likely in situations, especially in situations of government, that the most incompetent person rise to the highest level of status in that organization. So the more bungling and stupid and incompetent you are, take somebody like Tim Geithner, the so-called Secretary of Treasury. This dude is a failure at everything that his Geithner clan family set him up to do and be. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they set it up for him to do, he failed at. Every business this guy did, he failed at. He's the guy who helped deregulate the laws that turned the country insolvent in the modern, let's say from under Bush, from under this dude that's president now, into this existence. He's the one. He served under the guy Paulson, Henry Paulson. You dig? So it just so happens now in his position, him and Paulson, again, working together, two of the most incompetent, morally bankrupt people you would ever see in the world. These are the people who are in control of the Treasury. So it's no reason to then assume that this is, again, part of the political process, that the most stupid is the guy who gets the job. It's the guy who is really the most stupid socially, but the smartest, let's say, publicly to the people. You know, he can look smart. Like people, like for instance, people see this guy who's the president and say, oh, he's smart, he looks smart, he acts smart, he talks slick. He was the head of the Harvard Law Review. But was he? How could he, if he was only in Harvard for, let's say, a year and a half, how is it he could rise to such a prestigious position in something up to that time had been lily white? And if he knows law like that, then why is everything he does against the so-called Constitution that they allegedly follow? Everything he do come from executive powers that have nothing to do with what the paper that he allegedly sworn in was to do that. But remember, he was sworn in 3 times. You know what I'm saying? So that's 3 different realities, 3 different alternative positions. And 2 of them sworn in had no Bible. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know what he was swearing to, who he was swearing to, what was really going on, who's really in charge. But I do know that the only people who can be trusted in situations like that are the people who are willing to look the most absurd and the most socially or fiscally incompetent. Those are the guys that rise up. The people who work forever for the company and come up with the great ideas are the ones who get their ideas stolen and eventually fired. And their pensions and all that shit revoked. These are the people who run up in the store, in the offices, and shoot everybody up. It's the same thing in school. You become aggressively smart, or you become the one who is most studious and academically by how much raw data and dogma and doctrine you are able to bring up on tap enough to pass a test. So it's the only application in test, the only application to rising above a certain level is what it is you remember. And anyone with a good memory can pass a test. Therefore, the test itself is not an accurate means of assessing one's intelligence or depth of intelligence, because the test itself is only focusing on one linear aspect. Even though it may come in different subjects, the subjects is still in an academic form. Therefore, it's limiting by example or by nature. You understand? So again, in assessing, like I said, the present, let's say, world position based on a lot of the wars and all that stuff that's going on now, all of that stuff is just window dressing to a bunch of secret wars that really are dealing with the spiritually inclined, those of us who are spiritually inclined, as well as those non-physical inter- or interdimensional aspects, beings, entities, both of ourselves and of their own individual consciousness, that are all converging due to the fact that all of the cries of all of the people in all of the places in the earth that has been killed and raped and murdered and maimed and all of this stuff has reached such epic organic levels that the psychic trauma that is emitted has been traveling through wave harmonics, meaning radio waves, throughout the universe. That is echoing in places where it's not even, where pain is not even something that beings experience. And all of these different realities are then looking down or down into this reality, wondering when the hell the people who really run that society or world are going to get it together to stop this before they have to come there and do it. But they even know if they come down to this place too much, they will be spiritually corrupted and have to become physical, therefore, and by the same process, forgetting the true purpose of why they incarnated here or came here in the first place. The third density is about forgetting. So the same aspect of memory that is used to detail one's level of consciousness, memory itself being a reservoir of retained information, automatically gets wiped when a higher dimensional entity or being manifests in a third density due to the imperfect nature of third density's application to physical matter. The universal quandary in this for everybody involved, the humans, the animals, the insect kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the God mind, everything, is when are the people going to get it to the point that certain things are moot points, where certain things are not as important as the greater thing. There's an underlying fear in individuality that if you really do you, then somehow that stops other people from doing them. That is a reptilian-centered mind frame, altered opinion that has become fact due to perpetual trauma and reinforcement of that idea. There is nothing that you see or that you don't see anywhere on this planet. Or, matter of fact, name me something or think, if you could think about anything in this world that ain't come from somebody's idea first. Nothing. Therefore, as an idea-generated reality, the earth itself is a giant, like, wishing well that you can create things out of depending on how much physical and mental and spiritual work you put into it. Therefore, the less spiritually inclined will seek to have power and dominion over other beings and things as a means to exert its will for what it feels it cannot generate itself. Anything that can generate something for itself doesn't really care about what other things or other entities or beings are doing, because it knows that it can create whatever it will. Therefore, there's no need to be feel threatened or on the outside of whatever somebody else is doing, and you can truly then celebrate. But what this does is it takes the so-called this outlook will sometimes take what people perceive as the competitive nature out of life. Yet, the ball game that we was playing when we were called the Moancan people is totally different than the ball game that we're playing now that we refer to as African American people. Even though the basic rules of things are the same, yet everything has been changed to make things easier, you see, because luxury is used in physical reality as a means of seduction into evil. So because things are bad or hard physically, luxury is dangled out in front of you like a carrot in front of a horse, as to say that, well, things in this reality are messed up, but if you get luxury, if you become glamorous, if you indulge in the superficial materialistic aspects of the world, then you'll get everything quicker. But once you obtain, by going that route, which is a left-hand path, once you obtain all of that stuff, then you don't have anybody to share it with truly, because you know that you got it by means of degrading your soul. So you have these people making these records about how hard life is and how they would give it all back if they could and all of this crap, you see, when the whole purpose of them getting it was to do that, was to glorify themselves. And now that they are truly glorified and have worshipers, now that they've become true American idols and have worshipers who idol worship them, they are more alone because there is no boundary. The boundary is created because now the devil manipulates the image, because the image is what is used to perpetuate. So if you can control your own image as much as you can, when you let it out into the world, your energy, your initial protective energy will always be associated with it, so it won't end up in certain places. Whereas certain people's image is a way for them to achieve mortality and power, again, is to achieve fame, die, and then the images that are left of them are then venerated and used as potential doorways for them to always come back and revisit this place through the central nervous system of whoever has put the deified images of them in their homes. This practice is done today by the Hindu people, a lot of people who follow a woman named Heru, what is her name? Guru Ma. She'll be in a lot of different people's homes, and you'll see a lot of Vedic Indian Hindu type of guys who they're followers in yoga or whatever practices they'll have pictures of these people in their homes. But those pictures are really doorways, and what the followers don't know, or maybe they do, is that whoever is the person that is the image of, they can peer into where you are and see what it is you're doing and influence you through that picture, which is why they're always usually headshots in an 8x10, so it's just like a big head or a big face with this big red dot looking in your crib. That's another form of teleportation, temporal travel. Yet, we just look at these things as pictures. And the ignorance is what allows it to work in their favor. Yet, if we had a greater sense of ourselves and remembrance of how it is we invented the practices for them to even be able to do that to us, the whole game would be up. So, all of this is being replayed in our personal lives. So those feelings of isolation or feeling attacked by people and all of that right now, this is what's happening because this is how it's supposed to happen. Because this is the only means of expression for certain people is anger, is hatred, is evil, you see. Yet, this modern age of occultism and metaphysics and stuff like that has blurred the line so much that you have good people who wind up getting involved with practices that they're not ready to understand yet, and they get taken advantage of because the person involving them in the practice is just using them as a sacrifice, having them to gain more power over the corporeal or temporal realm. You have people in this life that are working to create slaves of you in the afterlife. You understand? So you have to sever the ties when the moment presents itself, because if you don't, you will be fed upon by these entities forever. I think it potentially could be a ritual killing, the thing that happened on June 1st, with the bus crash, But that's the problem. This is the time we live in. This is in the Bible when it talks about how you would not know, your right from your left. Things would be so confused and so whatever. And there's always a potential for that. Whenever there's sudden heart attacks, sudden this, anything sudden, why don't they put anything sudden like that? That's government shit. Anytime they say, unexpected or whatever, that's like local PD doing something. You know what I mean? Or local government trying to, take somebody out. But assassination is a part of governmental politics, and anybody who would tell you that it's not is a fool. Do the research. From January 1st of this year, how many senators were found dead? Old senators were found dead. And then start to research the January before that, how many senators were found dead in and around Washington through sudden freak accidents and shit like that. This is part of how they run their country. This is part of how they run their world. And some of us want to participate and love that form of warfare. We like, well, not me, but there are some of us who, even though we know better, we still entertain thoughts that these beings and these governmental entities or whatever have the power to come and harm us. But they are really the least of your worries. The people you got to worry about are the people you around every day. You are more potentially, in terms of per capita murder, you are more likely to be done in by somebody you know than somebody you don't. And that should tell you the moral fiber and the actual dehumanization of the country on a whole, black, white, Asian, whoever. The so-called American experience has been turned on its head to such a degree that it is breeding a society of suicidal, nihilistic serial killers who anybody can be potentially triggered, and the apoptosis gene that exists within them. Apoptosis gene is the gene in you that is responsible for cellular death. So through years of mind manipulative, invasive, non-human contact control programming, they have isolated the gene within certain racial types that they can trigger to, in a sense, create a suicide bomber. They cracked it in the Arab people, and you see that all the time. They are now trying to crack that in white people to start to train them how to do that. That's when you started seeing all of these white boys getting backed up fighting with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and they brought them back to America. These are all mind-controlled double agents who got sent over there from college after they was recruited by CIA, and then really started identifying with the cause. And then CIA said, okay, well, now you turned against us. Now we got to arrest you. Then they arrest them, bring them back for rendition, and then they start to tool them up again. And then eventually put them in jail, where they then start a little coven in jail, and then you have a whole group of other people. The Bilderberg group is a front for an older group that has been in effect for a couple of, for about 100 and some odd years. The original Bavarian so-called Illuminati, going back to Weishaupt or a.k.a. George Washington, depending on what research you do the knowledge to it or what angle you research him from, was a means to depose the amalgamation tactics that was happening in the empire, in which you had certain Moors that were against the papal ascendancy, meaning the ascendancy of Christian white slaves in their own government. And then you had those Moors who were the benefactors of that and were also amalgamating with those so-called noblemen, royalty, who they were allowing to come into their families. And they maintained these were originally the Black Danes, the Pictish, the Normans, the original Franciscans or Franks, of Gaul, which is now France, the Iberian or original Hyberian, which was Hyberian meaning high breed, or the old Black Bavarians, along the lines of what they called the original Plantagenets, or the original Holy Roman Empire. See, all of Europe is run by one family, and that one family is broken up into a bunch of little families, and those little families have created little fiefdoms for themselves, and because it's based on a feudalistic system, they war back and forth. But they all have been in a perpetual grand war with the darker races of the planet since the ascendancy of their forefathers, as they were once Christian slaves, Caucasian slaves, who adopted Islam in the form of Masonry, and then from Masonry they went into Satanism as a means to obtain spiritual dominion over our empire, our forefathers, who were losing the empire to each other, and then these white guys were coming in and inheriting what was left. And then they renamed everything that was left, and then created a society where they could perpetuate the rulership and the passing on of the secrets as to what really happened. And we are all byproducts or people who fell either behind enemy lines or in our own homeland when the whole thing went down. But being that all of the elders were killed off, what was left was a fictitious history created by a guy named Thaddeus Stevens and another guy named Horace Greeley. So if you want to read books on this, you could read Black Masters, White Slaves, The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War, Black Confederate Yankees, The Golden Trade of the Moor, The Servants of Allah. You could just type in these titles, and then the authors and stuff will come up. Othello's Children in the New World. Peace to Jose Clemente Bay. Peace to Brother Big Man. Peace to Brother Daoud. Peace to Brother Shabazz. Peace to the elders who was really holding it down. Peace to Steve Coakley. Regardless to personal politics or whatever, these are, some people who really put in a lot of work on the occult physical realm in the so-called community or movement that we're in that really don't get a lot of light. We can't always venerate the brothers and sisters who write the books. We also got to venerate the brothers and sisters that's out there every day holding it up, teaching children, running tours, screaming on white folks, screaming on black folk, doing the things that have to be done that most people who get into this understand is sometimes we become too complacent. Our live and let live metaphysical reality conflicts with the law of Ma'at that says do unto others. You know what I mean? As you would have to do yourself. So there's that going on in terms of perspective. Another thing that's manifesting that I wanted to build on was the form of a lot of the astrological things that are going down, in the sense of these wars. As we spoke about before, the wars that they're fighting in Africa, in Europe, they are fighting wars in Europe, by the way. I think they're not. They're just cold wars right now, meaning that it's some spy versus spy, born supremacy type stuff. But pretty soon that's going to pound a keg. You're going to start to hear little things about stuff going on in Bulgaria and places like that. Because those are places where you have people who are ethnic, meaning that you have huge portions of European people who worship the Black Madonna, meaning they have a Black Madonna and child, Black man, Black woman, child, Black artifacts, stuff like that in their house. These are descendants of white folk who worshipped St. Maurice back in the day. That's still recognized by the Greek Orthodox. That's another thing. You got a lot of Ethiopian people out here that's so-called Ethiopian, but a lot of these people is Greek Orthodox. They're not Ethiopian Orthodox, and Ethiopian Orthodox is the oldest so-called orthodoxy on the planet, meaning it's the oldest form of the order of Christ that you could get when you really get in it real, like when you really get into the cabinet grass, not necessarily dealing so much from a perspective of a Rasta or a traditional Ethiopian priest, but as a true understander of how that portion of the world contributed to the greater, let's say, Moorish consciousness when it comes to things like nobility and royalty, heraldry, stuff like that. That's why the Ethiopians were always kind of sequestered by the white folks, and why the Italians wanted to fuck with them, because Mussolini was dealing with Crowley, and Crowley knew that the energy that was manifesting from the artifacts that was in Ethiopia they could use as a means to legitimize Crowley himself as a fake beast for them to worship, so that way he could implant all of their orders with the MI5 CIA Skull and Bones version of Masonry that we are all under right now. So nobody's stuff is how it was in the very origin of it all. But the very origin of it all starts with the divine truth of who the true and living God is. So once you set yourself on that path, that is your initiatory energy. So that's what you are going to attract on the path to obtain that knowledge. Whereas if your initiatory energy is to obtain power, you may get a lot of knowledge, but you may not have the physical power you need. So you seek to get acknowledgement from other men, which by action puts you under the jurisdiction of other men. Masons deal with law. Real Masons, they deal with law. So they know that there's a southern jurisdiction, a northern jurisdiction, an eastern jurisdiction, and a western jurisdiction. Therefore, if you are potentate of one jurisdiction, you have to get permission, if you are really doing things correctly, by the potentate of whatever city you come in. So just in case you're involved in some shit, you know what lie to tell the police or whoever's looking for you. A lot of these unsolved crimes and all of that, most of these things are ritual. They'll tell you that OJ killed Nicole Smith, but they'll never tell you who killed Biggie. They'll never tell you who killed Tupac. They'll never tell you who killed Big L. They'll never tell you who killed Guru. They'll never tell you who killed Pimp C. They'll never tell you who they killed Michael Jackson. They'll never tell you who killed Elvis. They'll never tell you who killed Kennedy. They'll never tell you who killed Robert Kennedy. They'll never tell you who killed King. They'll never tell you King. You see what I'm saying? And the people have allowed these murders to continue, and nobody's doing nothing. Black people and white people. White people, black people have more of a vested interest to rebel, but they don't. White folk don't have an interest to rebel, if anything, to say whatever soul they have left, but they would allow it to continue. You don't hear any. They'll go in on my Vic for a dog, you know. But you ain't never hear no white man go to jail for raping a dog. But they'll kiss a dog in the mouth and tongue it up and everything else. This is not to say that they are beasts. This is to say that they have beast-like tendencies that they indulge openly and put it out there like it's okay. It's not okay to do stuff like that because maybe I don't want my son to have a dog kissed him in the mouth like that. But if he's seeing somebody who's on a TV, who lives in a mansion, who has 8 dogs, who has a big house and chandeliers and cars and trees and everything else, you know what I'm saying? And he lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and shit, he may think that's okay. But it's up to me to school him and let him know the difference, to let him know that it don't matter, that we all don't come from the same place. We all come from the same place in terms of a divine creator, yet we all do not evolve or ascend along the same genetic and physical, material, spiritual lines. We don't. If we all were the same, then we all would be the same color. If we're not all the same color, then that means that we have different physiologies. Naturally. So what? We all breathe air. As many science fictions as you've seen, John Walsh, that's the American most wanted dude, right? That's the dude that lost his kid. What about him? He's another agent. You know what I'm saying? Now, after they killed his daughter, but you don't know this. We don't know the circumstances behind that. We don't know where he came from. We know about him when he came on the scene as this happened to him and his daughter, however many years ago, and now he's dedicated his life to catching other people. But we don't know that. That started on Fox. Remember that. That started on Fox. So we got to take everything with a grain of salt. So a lot of the overt wars that we're seeing going down are really covert wars for different areas. Like you hear them talk about no-fly zones. We talked about on the show a couple of shows ago that a lot of no-fly zones, all no-fly zones are over areas that have huge openings that go into the inner earth. And the inner earth thing is becoming more and more prevalent to them based on a lot of the astral activity and astrological activity that's going on, in the sense that, you know, above the North Pole you have this giant black hole, and then directly above that, however many billions of light years up, you have the pinwheel galaxy, Messier 102 and Messier 101. These are astrological doorways that's open directly above the so-called planet, and then there's a black hole opening that also goes into the inner aspect of the Earth. So at the same time, physically, we are going through the inner changes inside of us. Physically, outside of us, the Earth, which is the physical representation of us physically, is now going through the same thing, because whatever exists and the life and whatever that exists in there is a giant form of life. So a lot of us are having dreams, myself, the Queen, a couple of other people that we've spoken to and done work for recently who have talked of dreams in which you're seeing giant animals in your dreams, like giant animals. These are evidence of inner-worldly activity and a genetic connection to aspects of yourself that is becoming more online. But these new things are being manifested in giant primordial images and symbols that download a certain reality to us in our waking lives. So if you look up at the sun, especially on real sunny days now, you'll see a giant circle around it. That's like a rainbow that you never saw like that before. And that thing is getting bigger. So this is the physical world now becoming more and more open. Like we have our perceptions of the reality that we live in are shaking at the very foundation. Yet the more that happens, we're supposed to be grabbing on for new. Like if you're in an earthquake and you're on one side and you have to reach and you're holding on to one branch, and there's another branch in front of you that leads to a part that's not shaking, you can't hold on to the one branch you got that's shaking. You got to jump out and reach out to the new branch. Hopefully you'll get it. You know what I'm saying? And you can get out of the situation. But everybody's holding on to the old shit and acting like that's what's going to get us all out of it. And what I'm seeing more and more, and this is my opinion, is that what that is doing is showing more and more of the character of the people perpetuating the information. You understand? Because there's a lot of boule. They make money off of making movies and books about slavery in manners that never happened. And they get graphs and stuff and justify it and stuff, and none of that stuff ever happened like that. But when I say slavery, I'm not see, this is what I mean about language. We have to start understanding that when we say slavery, we're not talking about black people in bondage. We're talking about white people in bondage. When we talk about Negro slavery or African slavery, then we're talking about black people. But when you say slavery, you're not talking about you. You're talking about them. Because slavery, again, comes from the Slav, which is Slovenian or Slovakian, which in ancient times was called Circassia, where they used to import a lot of quote-unquote Christian slaves, white people, WIGHT people, under Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Look up the definition of WIGHT, white. And then the definition of the opposite, and then you'll see why they prefer one type of white over the other. So a lot of this energy, you know, like we're saying, is just really a hyper energized feeling of this awakening, you know, that is affecting everybody, but not everybody is handling it, you know, the same way. We can't. So the people are the people who understand the motivation, you know, of their own self, as well as those people pitted against them. You understand? Once you understand what motivates somebody, then you know what you can deal with them with and what you can't. If this person is motivated solely by money, then eventually I can only deal with this person so long as we're making money. The minute we start not making money, this person can eventually screw me over to get my money. Because this person's loyalty is money. It's not me. It's not a friendship. It's what he can get out of it. You see? And there's nothing wrong with being discerning like that, because that allows you to understand who and what you're dealing with. So you don't have to take it personal, and you don't have to mess with this person if you don't want. So, you know, you have there was a doctrine by this guy named Cyrus Teed, who was a doctor in 1869 that he taught called cellular cosmogony. And it was, he founded a cult called the Koreshan Unity. Now, Koresh, the tribe of Koresh, is the tribe of Shabazz. You see what I'm saying? So, of course, in reading about this, I'm trying to find out, is this a black guy? You know what I mean? It's a white guy. They never say they're ambiguous. You see? So whenever they're ambiguous about something, that's when you know that somehow or another you're created. And they have a way of wording and language and stuff like that that allows the mind to put words together in a certain way to promote a certain idea that is always going to be slanted to them. So he put this out as a means to get into the esoteric aspect of stuff, and he claimed that he could verify the concavity of the earth, which is the curvature of the earth, through the surveys that he and his followers did along the Florida coastline. You understand? This became the, the basis for Admiral Byrd's alleged mission, you know what I'm saying, out there later on, when he allegedly ran into whoever was in the inner earth or whatever, you know, you want to say, which became the basis of a lot of the stories of science fiction, Jules Verne, and all that type of stuff. But all of these things are coming, again, from myths left by yours and my forefathers that was out there doing the work and was living this stuff. So there's a grain of truth in it all, which is why in Pirates of the Caribbean they had to have Calypso, who was really Emaya or Olokun, depicted as a black woman with locks. But a black woman in locks in society, unless she knows who and what she is, will be hated on by some of her own sisters because of the fact that she has her own hair. And they don't. The sister spoke to me tonight. She was told who was a hairdresser, big up to her and her family. She was telling me tonight about she had a friend, and the friend worked in the corrections or whatever, and they tossed this girl's cell, and they found all these boxes of Monostat 7. So they asked the girl, well, what are you doing with all this Monostat 7? She's like, this is what I was using. I'm using to perm the girl's hair, because she was like the hairdresser in the joint. Do the knowledge to that, man. So if she's using it as a lie, as an acid, as a relaxer, you understand what I'm saying? What is it doing to the inside of you as a woman when you're using this stuff? And why is this legal? I was watching this thing with Brother Doe. Brother Doe said, you shouldn't take anything white. Anything that's white, if it comes in a toothpaste, or don't use it. Don't bring it in your house. Don't do nothing. You shouldn't have nothing white. You understand? But he's coming from the idea that the white itself is the death color, and it is in their, you know what I'm saying, society. So if you're a black person wearing white, wear from the perspective that the white that you're wearing is not death itself, but the death of Western civilization, like focusing. People who wear like mad colors, like Nicki Minaj. What did I say? Nicki Minaj. People like that, like Andre when he first came out on the extreme, like crazy colors or all that. What that shows is that the person is very just open. You understand? The person is open to influence, open to whatever. You know what I mean? So the niggas that's wearing the camouflage and the checkered pants, the checkered socks, and then the team jersey, and then all of that stuff is just showing how open to influences you are. Whereas if you wear more muted colors, if you look at the more muted people, there's a difference between, let's say, a Lil Wayne and a Baby. You know what I mean? Baby's always in some solid shit. It's either solid white, solid red, solid black. Lil Wayne is all over the place. You understand? But he's young. You know what I mean? At the same time, yeah, he's been in the game long enough to know the rules. You know what I'm saying? So there's a certain degree of calling the shots, but then still, in a sense, having to go to somebody to let them know what the shot's going, so they can tell you what the shot's going to be. And then above him is somebody that's doing that, because allegedly the homie Baby got oil. He got an oil rig out in Texas. This is the word, you know. People could do the research, find out for sure, but this is what, you know, I'm doing the knowledge too. Also, the post office is going through something right now where they might be losing ground where, again, if the post office go, that's a problem because the post office is the seat of the government. The government is really run out the post office. It's not the White House or the Oval Office. That's just where they sit down and discuss what it is they've done and assess based on how much traffic is coming through the Postmaster General, because he's always letting them know who's where, who's moving what the migration patterns is. That's why he's a general. He got a gun. You know what I'm saying? He wears a suit, but this dude is like a four-star general, the Postmaster General. So you got to do the knowledge to that. There's a such thing within us or within modern science and biological sciences that they refer to as the OGE. And the OGE is the optimum genetic expression. The optimum genetic expression is when an organism has the ability to fully express all of the traits within the DNA equally due to proper atmospheric conditions. So under optimum conditions, we can flourish. Yet under stressed conditions, we can falter. And so what reality or this reality does is it keeps you teetering in the middle. So you'll always be a fence sitter. You know what I'm saying? Bob Marley used to say, fence sitter, never see winner. And that's real. Because sometimes it's live and let live, yet at the same time, that also, again, leaves things wide open. Some people will sacrifice right action in, let's say, stopping something or working to, openly disagree with something, right, and leave it at that. Some people will just let it go, and you can just keep letting things go for as long as you want. But there will come a time, as life will always present to you, a time in which you cannot do that. And that is when you are confronted with the decision, again, that comes from days past. So you're not even dealing with the now. It's forcing you to stop dealing with the now to have to deal with something that you was really done with when you was done with it. But the problem is we live in a world of zombies, you understand? And zombies don't stay dead unless you put two in their head. And this don't mean, two in, going out and taking out people that you have disagreements with, but it is to say that two is wisdom. The wisdom that you put in your head is to understand why you have to stand up for something, man. We as black people, the only thing we stand up for is money. More than Jesus, more than all that shit. One thing we all can agree on is money. You understand? So what does that show you? Money is not even from our culture like that. That's something that just came out of our culture. We didn't deal with money, dollar bills and shit like that. The first paper money was created way back in medieval China when them crazy Asiatics was just bugging on some, just trying to just control everybody's gold, But that was also a period where the Shinto was coming out of existence, and the Jainists was coming in, and the Jainists were like Shaolin Taoists, so they were like medieval Asian/Asiatic sorcerers, like these fake characters that's Bohemian Grove type dudes, them type dudes. So we're talking about systems of outmoded control that were just dreamed into existence as another means of an entity working to gain a foothold and control a reality in the physical world. So there's a form of dream study come up with by modern so-called dream sociologists or psychologists, Domhoff, David Folks, Carl Jung, Freudian type of school. These guys are more dealing with the primordial physical aspects of man. So Darwin, who's a student of this type of thought, is also a guy. So him studying that. This guy went to the Galapagos Islands, studied turtles, studied lizards and stuff, dragonflies, and then wrote about how humans are basically reptilian animals. You see what I'm saying? And that, they're only there to kill each other. And this became the mode of Western society, you see? It's subsequently, right after that is when the Jack the Ripper shit started. You see what I'm saying? So again, them writing it down into the logos, them speaking it, writing it into the logos, putting it into the populace, and allowing the populace organ energy to raise the possibility, open the possibility in the mind, and then when they physically ritualize the act in the form of Jack the Ripper killing all these people, they then can masonically feed off of the ritual. And then in later years, again, write how many movies or whatever else of all of the people who was connected with that Jack the Ripper or whatever was connected with it, they can then do movies or books or whatever it is they do about it after that. This is how they move their society into the future. They get us to do it. It's a proxy situation. If it was left to them, there'd be no society. What would the United States be like if they didn't have the war with the Indians? Yeah. Rent itself, again, that's Ra, Ray, right? And then that's NT, which is Nut, which is like nature. So let's look at it from a Confucian aspect. So we're talking about Ra's nature. So are they saying that Ra's nature is to charge people to live? No. What it means in the Old English would be to exist in a hamlet in which you had to pay the count or the vizier or the viceroy the money that he would then give to his cousin who was the king. So essentially it's another word that means servitude, basically. But getting back to Domhoff and these people, Domhoff, for instance, coined what he calls the cognitive continuity, which is the principle that things happen during the day. The things that happen during your day are the same things that happen to you in your dream. You understand? Meaning that everybody that you've ever seen in your life is in your dream somewhere. And when you walk into places and are in places and you see these people, some of these people are reminiscent of people or conglomerations of people that you've seen in your waking life. So in that, there's a chick named Elizabeth Diamond who wrote a paper on it, and she basically said that dreams are a form of biological reductionism, which would mean that to reduce the dream into itself would be to break up what the dream is section by section in the brain. But they don't really know. They can tell you what part of the brain is what, but they cannot necessarily tell you how the brain works. You got to remember that. No doctor, no person that is coming from Western society can tell you how the body and the whole shit really works. They can tell you what it do and what they can do for it, but they can't tell you how and where it works. So that would be like your car breaks down, you buy a garage, but you don't know how to fix the car. You understand? You got all the tools, you got the car, you got the garage, but you don't know how to do it. So you got to feel around and figure it out. That's why they have residencies and stuff like that. You should go online and research how many people die as a result of resident care in hospitals. Research that. I had a brother tell me that the number one tattoo that the kids is still coming in with for people who get shot and all of that, a lot of the gang dudes and all of that, is get rich or die trying. So what does that say, again, about the power of the idea? You understand? The power of the idea has materialized to the point that it's sunken into the skin of the individual that is living the life that was lived by another individual, put forth in the form of a music, which is in the form of music and a TV show and a video game or whatever else. And now this person has played it, lived it, listened to it, watched it to the point that they've gone out there and tried to become it and has gotten killed or shot in the process. Therefore, fulfilling the prophecy of the idea, which is to get rich or die trying. See? So we're talking again about an agenda based on an idea that may have come out of the most realest of places in the mind of the person they refer to as Curtis Jackson. Yet we will never know what it was like because none of us, inshallah, will have to go through being shot 9 times. What that does to the mind or the soul or whatever, or any of the brothers and sisters that have gone through the horrific things that we exist through in Western society. Yet, if the only thing that we can agree on is money, that is a problem. We agree on money more than we agree on nationality. We agree on money more than we agree on whether or not, this one is black or not, or this one is God or not, or whatever. We care more about that shit than everything else. And I'm not necessarily blaming us for doing that. This is what physical reality has become right now. So, you can't get mad at the forest for being on fire. You guys got to put it out or try to get away from it. You don't get mad at the fire. Nobody gets mad at the fire. You hear what I'm saying? And the fire is the one that killed and burnt up the house and the forest and everything else. But nobody can get mad at the fire because everybody has agreed that fire is its own entity and therefore cannot be influenced but for so much. So we could do that for an intangible thing that has a physical effect. Why can't we do that with things like ideologies and opinions and nationality and sociology and shit like that? Can't do that because the academician and the people who are the most notable in accessing this form of thought are all under their own agenda. Or it's solely the people's fault. It's all on them. You can't even blame the devil no more. You can't blame the devil for nothing. The devil is always going to be that. It's always going to be that. If all white folk was gone in the whole world where there was no white folk, right? The black folk that act like the white folk is still white folk. You understand? The Indian, the Chinese, the Puerto Rican, the whatever you want to call yourself, if you are working to uphold Western civilization more than you are working to undo it, then something is wrong. And undo it is a broad general statement. It's open. That could be you just not going to vote. That's how it started with me. I was like, oh, shit, my vote actually, this is when I thought my vote counted, though. So I was like, oh, word, this is dope. If I don't vote for this dude, he don't get in? No. You know what I'm saying? But in that, then when I noticed that the argument was unsound, the argument for not voting is, well, if you don't vote, then you can't complain. What does that mean? So does that mean what? So that's like me waiting in my house all day for the postman, for the UPS man to come, and as soon as I go to or fall asleep or run to the store, he come and then leave a note talking about he come. I have a right to be mad because I was there all day waiting for that person. You understand? So it's the same thing dealing with this. How is it that we are more affected by shit that has nothing to do with us, and then the shit that has to do with us, we have the least to say about it? That's when you know, this is when you separate the men from the boys and the women from the girls. Who's ready to do the shit that needs to be done without necessarily getting credit for it? Who's ready to accept the fact that all of us are screwed up equally, that really nobody is more screwed up than anybody else because everybody done gone through the same process of being screwed up? Some of us more than others. Again, we are all working to get better. This is a life. This is going to be going on for your life. It's not like you get consciousness and now we reach this level and it's like, oh, we here. No, it's not like that. For the rest of your life, you are going to be dealing with this no matter how great things are. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not even, it's reality itself. It's physical reality itself, y'all. This is what it is. The ant got to fight the beetle off. If the beetle falls dead, them ants going to eat that beetle for nothing. You understand? Everything in this reality is about moving on through some sort of chaos and creating order out of that for a time where then chaos ensues. So now chaos is about to ensue or chaos is ensuing again, and now order has to be brought from that. But it can't be the order that they want. Therefore, it got to be the order that we want. But if our order is based on what we think, but if our order is based on what their order isn't, or is based on them in any way, fashion, or form, then we are just leaving the door open for all that to come back in again. So we've been working to, research how a lot of these ideas and these things form, and what we're finding is that most of the stuff is happening from the dream realm first. And the so-called government is tapping into what they call the neo-mammalian rational brain, which is the neocortex, which represents 2/3 of the brain's language, abstract thought, consciousness, curiosity, imagination. And it's divided into two hemispheres. So because the right rules the left, and the left is artistic, spatial, and like musical stuff, the left, which is the right, is all linear and rational and verbal stuff. So the space between the two is what the Bible refers to as the parting of the Red Sea. The Red Sea is the blood that exists between the two hemispheres, between the true Egypt, right, and the Egypt that exists under the water. Because when the whole thing gets parted, you get to see what really lies on the ocean floor. So it's a symbolic nature of everything coming into awareness once everything comes back together, allowing the true and righteous, meaning the true understanding of the thought, the true intent to travel the space between, meaning the middle pillar, meaning the unifying faction between both sides. And that's us. So all of these thousands of years worth of cries that have been traveling out to the universe is now reverberating back here, to the point now where the whatever's out there got to come here and physically reveal itself. So what the devil got to do is create its own version of that first to already poison our appetite. So that way when the real shit goes down within us or out of us or who crawls off the planet, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be such a way where we're totally in shock of the whole shit. So the new push now is to have movies that develop and show the individual as being a cosmic being and being able to travel into and out of inner and outer space. Whereas opposed when we were growing up, it was about the individual being inside of a spaceship because we understand that you can't breathe in space. Yet our perception of space, again, is based upon what they tell us it is. Of course. You know? So in that, they have created a basic idea. If you type in Citigroup Equity Strategy from 2005 or 2006, you'll read a report they wrote called The Plutonomy, which is the buying luxury and explaining global imbalance. And basically they're saying that a society by and for the top 1% elite basically own 96% of everything physical on the planet. So they say that the only threat that they have then, so they're saying based on that is the fact that it's then a plutonomy. They're saying that it's not even a democracy or phinocracy or whatever you want to call it, it's actually a plutonomy. So that means Pluto is the primary influence on the planet, on the country. But that's not necessarily how the country was founded. If you get the book called Secrets of Our Nation's Capital by James Overson, I think you would read what America was founded under. And the zodiac sign America was founded under had Pluto relative to it, but it wasn't necessarily the predominant influence of planet in the creation. So what we're seeing is the terraforming or the recreation of what they want the place to be. You understand? With Pluto being the primary influence, which is interesting because everything that they did in terms of the from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s basically happened when Pluto was in Libra, right? So it's very interesting right now, you know what I'm saying, that they're trying to reinvent the 80s by calling this thing a plutonomy, but remember the initial sign that the whole country was cast under has already been set. So whatever they want to try to turn the country into now, you see, by all of these sudden attacks and floods and all of this is them rearranging maps, and this is them wiping away of countries and shit like that. This is not just natural disasters. These are natural disasters aided by unnatural artificial technology, which are then being exploited by the corporate America and being used by the so-called federal government as a means to terraform and redistribute and reconstitute where land and societies and things are going to be. But this is what white folk get for the Katrina shit. This is what they're getting based on what happened with the Haiti shit, because they're not even talking to you about the Haiti shit no more. None of them Haitians got money. Nobody in Haiti got money from them events and all of that. So where'd the money go? So in the new Rihanna video, you know, this is a segue, but she's related, being she did a fundraiser for them. In the new Rihanna video, she shoots a black man in the head or some shit. So in the people coming out against her, but what she said is, the music industry, we're artists and we get to express ourselves or whatever. She said, and if you want to stop your kids from becoming people like us, it's your responsibility to, you know, explain whatever to them. And all we got to do is make art. So she's telling you, that means she's aware. She's aware consciously, symbolically of what this is doing to people. But again, the demon is sharing in the pain. The demon is sharing the influence. So because she hate or whatever, everybody got to hate whatever. See? So whoever or whatever this person is, all I can talk about is what I see. And what I see is someone who is possessed and is using their influence to possess other little girls. The same way this chick Beyonce is doing. The same way all of these black women is doing in modern media. Eve about to have a baby for some old Maximilian, what's his name? Some old white dude. He's a young white dude or whatever. So how you going to now start doing rap, come back to the hood? How you coming back to the hood now rapping about how, you know, hard it is and how you came up and all this shit, shorty, and now, you know what I'm saying, you living with Maximilian. You going to pass your legacy on. You going to bring another abomination into this nigga. You know he plugged in. He a billionaire. So what is that? Millionaire, whatever. So what's that say? The only way, or one of the only ways I think you could be sure of who or what somebody is if you know how they personally got to the situation they got to. Anything else, you got to learn it through research or you got to learn it through speaking to the person and feel them out, understand. That's why understanding one's dreams helps one understand how to navigate through the reality even better. That's why it's really about, you know, understanding how they work and correspond to the reality so you can draw the best out of it. Because if not, you have other people who are taking advantage of you in that realm. You know? So we have some classes coming up called this Wednesday, actually. If anybody's interested, you can holler at me at houseofl@hotmail.com. It's going to be a 4-week class. It's going to be very interesting, very intense, and very knowledgeable, you know. But it's called Totemic Dream Navigation, and it's a universal practice and starts in a basic understanding of what the basis of dreams are, as far as I have researched them, and as far as I have understood in my own personal expeditions into what the Aboriginal ancestors refer to as the dream time. And there are things that you can draw out. You know, one of the things I was able to draw out is how my memory works and why I'm able to understand certain things, you know, without necessarily getting too wrapped up into why and how, more so in what, you know. Because the things that are physically important down here are the reverse or the opposite. So everything you place the most importance of down here really don't mean nothing on the opposite, whereas the shit you care the least about is shit that means the most. Yeah, Carlos Castaneda, he wrote about stuff. He studied under, you know, Sufis and stuff like that. So he had a certain degree of transcendentalism in him, you know. Yeah, a lot of that type of stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah, anybody wants to holler at me on that, it would be on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. So, you know, it's really good. But coincidentally, you know, speaking of dreams and how these things correspond with each other is how the basic fiber of the so-called American Republic has been kind of reduced based on what this guy has been hacking out of the system. Yet, as he is a product of the system itself shows why it can't accommodate certain things that we may think it should. So, what we're about to talk about real briefly is stuff that pertains to the material realm. So I want to isolate that so that way you know. So when we talk about the whole economic crisis that basically started once the dude got in there, it probably had been going on from the time of Bush. But like, again, Brother Daoud said, white people or Caucasian people in mass were niggerized under George H.W. Bush, or whatever his name is, Jr., whatever his name is. They were totally niggerized, meaning that they were totally put under the idea that they were somehow ethnic, and they were somehow up until him, white people wouldn't admit it, but up until him, they had been trying to produce us to think white people were cool for a long time, going all the way back to like Revenge of the Nerds. That was the first Napoleon Dynamite. That was them trying to condition us to be sympathetic for nerdy people. That's why the fraternity that backed up the nerds was an all-black fraternity. It was the Boule, because that was a symbol of the Boule basically backing the so-called, Skull and Bones in their endeavors to the Tuskegee experiment and a lot of stuff that had already reached its crescendo during that time, let's say the mid-'80s. So they had already been setting that up. So by the time movies like Something New came out, or First Boiler Room, and then let's say by the time Something New came out, look, we're not even going to talk about Monsters Ball. Well, by Something New, it was like, okay, this is, something new. But black women had already been kind of conditioned through that eliteness and through that sorority, fraternity, Eastern Star, we with Jesus, but we still do sex orgies type stuff. That all that type of mentality was what was backing up the idea of what the new black elite was now growing into. You understand? Because you have to remember, the Masons, the black Masons, W.B. Du Bois and those types of people, and even before him, Frederick Douglass and those type of sellout dudes, they are the ones who set up the situation for the national government to be totally destroyed. And whereas we could have had a national or individualized or whatever government for ourselves, they're the ones who made it a way so that way we would give that up and instead have a black elite. So this black elite has now become a pack of bumbling fools and idiots and minstrels and stuff, which are the guys that's in power and on TV all the time now. That's why they put them there. Because like I told you, anybody who is morally crazy or absurd or the more extreme or whatever, that's why they don't kill axe murderers and stuff like that. They put them on death row and let them live for years because they respect that. See, we get it twisted. The federal government is working along the lines that it was ordained to make and run under, being that they were as administrators of it. And that's how they ran the society for them. But they exceeded the jurisdiction by sending zip codes to everybody. And once everybody accepted the zip codes, then their jurisdiction extended beyond their border. So in dealing with the present financial crisis, you have banks like Countrywide or companies like Countrywide, Wells Fargo, Chase City Bank, Lehman Brothers, Bank of America. All of that was through Goldman Sachs. Basically, all of those fell, so in Goldman Sachs got all of them, as well as the Washington Mutuals and all the banks under them. And then Goldman Sachs, basically, because it was all of those banks, though, what they had in common was that they were founded during the Civil War period, which means that they were Civil War banks that were created to house money that the Confederacy was working to hide and sequester. And then after everything was taken over and the Union took over the southern aspect of that, all of those banks now became Union property or were being seized by the Union. So a lot of those outlaw stories that you read about the Wild West and Jesse James and all these people, all those people were Masons. And all of those outlaws and robbers were the same people that descended from people like Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone and Brigadier Jones and these type of people who were all Caucasian bounty hunters and child murderers and child killers who were sent in to kill and scout nobles as terror tactics when they were trying to extend their jurisdiction into the West. So a lot of the banks that were robbed by these outlaws, Billy the Kid, all of these type of people, were actually banks that were owned by members of the original republic, us, that they was robbing. But they make you think it's different, that they went out in the West and they founded everything. No, they went out in the West and seized everything and then remodeled everything and then killed everybody off through what they call the Wild Wild West, which is what they doing to Iraq right now. That's what they do. They come into your country, they destabilize the shit. There's some type of rebellion, some type of killing, murder. Everybody bugs out. Everybody's shooting each other on the street for years. Then eventually things shut down and it gets cool and they eventually create a cohesive government and it seems like it's running cool for a while. They did the same thing in Miami. They did the same thing in L.A. They did the same thing in New York during the Muslim wars between, the death of Malcolm X and the Hanifa killings in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar house. And then even after that. So if all of these countries are owned by Goldman Sachs, if all of these corporations and companies owned by Goldman Sachs, both corporately, spiritually, materially, at the time that this happened, the guy Timothy Geithner, who's the Secretary of Treasury, this guy was the guy who opened up the legislation for all of these banks to use the predatory lending methods that they use to filter everybody out of their houses. That's why he had to wear a low jack, because he got indicted for a little while and they thought he was going to leave the country. So they put a low jack on his leg on the low. And then he was able to still do his duties, but he's totally incompetent. So again, the guy who is the liaison between Goldman Sachs, who agreed to come and take over all of these countries over these companies after they set them up to fall, the guy who was there to make the deal on behalf of all of them is Henry Paulson. Henry Paulson was the guy who gave Tim Geithner the job when he worked at one of the old firms. Same thing happened when then after they fell, AIG, Merrill Lynch, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Bear Stearns, all of that fell. All of that went to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs then is dealing directly with Geithner. Geithner's the guy who was appointed by the president. So all of this money is going back up. Most of the people, registered members of KK, is not in the Republican Party, it's in the Democratic Party. Don't believe me? Do the knowledge. Again, they get to a point when they start flipping. They let FDR do mad shit. It wasn't until he tried to create the Workers' Bill of Rights that they took him out. They killed him. And everybody had to have a job. Everybody was entitled to a job. Everybody had to have adequate wage and decent living. Everybody had to have a decent home. Everybody had to have medical care. Everybody had economic protection during sickness, accidents, old age, or unemployment, and everybody had to have a good education. This is coming from the white man. Now, how they would have implemented that, it probably would have degenerated, but maybe it wouldn't have. What I'm trying to say is before he could even try to do any of that, that was a wrap for him. But they let him do all this other shit that this dude right now is doing the same thing. So, again, if the post office go, that's not a good look. Yeah, we could do that. Peace, you want Super Heru Radio? Peace, you want Super Heru Radio? What's the area code? 401? Nope. Peace, you want Super Heru Radio? 813?
Hey, what's up, brother?
What's up, D? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. This is Michael L., man.
Peace, brother. How you been?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't want to get off the subject, but I was trying to call in actually like about a week and a half ago. I just wanted to commend you, the way you conducted yourself the other day.
Thank you, brother.
On the show.
Thank you.
Pertaining to, the other gentleman. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to give him no energy. But
yeah.
I had excuse me?
I said at first I was like, what is it? I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, I wanted, you know what I'm saying? I was really upset, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, these jokers, it's like he's like a conscious pimp, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't one that talking about boycotting these jokers, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like,
man, you know, it's on the people now, you know. That was it for me.
And the funny thing, because I listened to his show, and actually it wasn't his show, he was on some other individual shows, and about 63 minutes into the show, and this is ridiculous, he was on the show advertising about him doing a seminar about love.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that show, but if you would have heard, man, he really blasted you, man. He talking about you were, he didn't say a nerd, but a weirdo or something. I said, but if we had more brothers like you, quote unquote weirdos, this world would be a whole lot better place. But you know what?
Yeah, but
it was like,
he was bugging out. But again,
correct. Right.
I also look at it like it's a proper help too, man. You know.
But I looked at it like like a bully. You know how they they are attacked, and it's like they lash out that's to someone that they perceive as being weaker. But then that's how the cycle just perpetuates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Joker, but metaphysically, like I said, I was upset, but then I had to really sit back and observe it. For him, but you have to remember, your name is Heru. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's what I'm trying
really
to say.
Needs and you have the power actually to help him conform to. It's like I'll say this hypothetically. I'm an abuser. I'm an abuser in this person so they can stand up to me, to teach me how to stand up for myself.
Yes.
And that's what it was right there.
He
was using you.
And
he was using you as a platform because I'm feeling the energy. He respected you to come up with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
So, but I really commend you. Correct.
Thank you, brother. Because it's really not even about me and him. You're actually teaching him how to actually look. And he said this was very profound. He said, "Nigga, I'm not really conscious anyway." I'm like, whoa. That's what everybody said who heard stuff.
I'm like, but the dude was actually lunching though. Something is really going on with him.
Yes,
something is really
and he
going
needs
on
help.
with him, man.
And that's what I'm trying to say. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do. It's not even about me and him. It's about what he represents or what they choose to represent and what I represent. And I'm not going to get into who's better. What I'm saying is better or they're better. I don't even care because, as you see, I'm past it. These niggas have been. This shit has been ruined for you since I knew them. I've lost a child around these people. And I just, through this whole occurrence, I got verification of what me and the Queen thought about the impetus of us losing that child, involvements in that. But that's not for me or the Queen to revenge and go in on that because I've been past it. It's just that when you, like I said, when you do you, man, people really feel like they can't do them. And there's a certain degree of arrogance in the idea that we, at this time, period, you know what I mean, that we have to stop, the community now has to stop or had to felt or whatever, needed to stop to deal or witness to that, which is why, to show and prove who I am in it, I'm not going to use and give the demon what it wants because I know once a person decides that they are Lucifer, then Lucifer gives his slaves what they want. And I've seen and been around this person where they refer to themselves as the devil. So I don't deal with the devil.
Actually, he said that on the show. I'm like, is this dude
I know.
Really, is this nigga lunching? I said, these niggas are using this. This is like the new crack game or something. As far as the energy.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It's not like the street.
And that's what I'm trying to say. The arrogance is to the level where these people don't even realize how they sound. You understand? So I don't have to say nothing. This is not about, like I said, it's not about me and him. It's about who because he not only degraded me, he degraded in the response or email or whatever, he brought this to the community. He was like, I'm above them. I'm not that, but I'm like, they paying you. You understand? So, again, this was great for all of us, for even the brother, because now even the brother can see his own actions. that it's in the open, and that there is no us. There is no relationship. There's no ability that, you know what I mean, anything can happen because it's so out there. And we know we've all from the street, man. I could be a nerd and all of that, but I grew up in the street, man. You know, but these niggas was not doing, these niggas wasn't there, but I was around, but they know that I was. They see what it comes down to, too, is ego, you know? And when we don't have to scream to be heard in this world, man, this world wants to know why, you know? And in that, I've been working on myself, G, to not take things personal from people who don't really exist in my life like that. Yet, when I felt that being that the people were addressed in the situation and we're supposed to be representatives of them, if I was to not say nothing about it and this person went on and did this to whoever else or whatever else, you see,
or worse,
then it would look, or worse, then I'm now complicit in this, keeping this person's secret. And I know, and me with a moon in Scorpio, I know enough about secrets of which not to hold for people. Yeah, I watched the Queen pray in silence, pray in silence, for have these people just find peace in their life for love. These people don't know that. Like, they don't know. We're the type of, us, Super Heru family, we're keeping all of these niggas alive. You understand what I'm saying? All of us. And I'm not just talking about the people who, this person that I was in the conflict with. I mean those of us in the world that have this drive in us to be right. Not to be right over somebody or right just to be right, but to be on the path to get to where we need to go, and to not allow anybody that's trying to rape and pimp and do that to anybody else to stop them from doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I was upset with myself a little bit because I got people getting out of the church. I got people listening to you, and so subsequently they listen to other people also. And I'm like, hold up. And I'm like, you know, nobody actually said this to me. Like, Shorty, you got me listening to this shit. This is the street. but like I said, I was highly upset. I was highly upset, but then you can't fight fire with fire because that only breeds fire.
Man.
I could damn. So I had to really get into the deep root of it.
The elders ain't trying to reverse the situation. The people who have passed, the people who have been in the game and seen what's really going on, these niggas ain't trying to stop this shit. They are letting it go on. So that obviously that somebody is getting something out of it, but it ain't me. So again, I have to distance myself from that and show the people that you don't have to join a group, cut a chicken, get in the order, you know, have sex with this person, you know, give
and
this
you know
money.
what?
You don't got to do all of that.
That
man.
right there, as far as
they lying
energy,
to you.
that energy is showing. You know what I'm saying? He's upset with himself, but he has to take it out on something physical. It's a mental war he got going on. He's taking it on you physically.
That's
or not just you,
and
anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody that doesn't agree or that they can't bully. And you can't bully me.
Because they get to see who they really are. You know
that's what I mean. I've turned down money from people just to keep my own sanity and not be around with the drama. You know what I'm saying? And when you can do stuff like that, people don't like that. People want you to be in the dirt with them. They want you to kick around. That's why I didn't even say his name, because it's not even about him. He know I'm not his enemy. He knows that. He know I don't hate him. He knows that. Right. So he can be as angry, and they can be as angry and hate him, whatever, but it's really because I don't want to hang out no more, man. I don't want to be cool. I don't want to be in that cipher. And that's not bad. I'm not saying that nobody should. I'm just saying I'm not. You know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't just be them. It would be anybody that's like that. You know what I'm saying? No matter what color they are. No matter what
That right there shows your maturity, too, though. That's why I say I'm proud of you, man. Not just the way you talk, because we always talked about that offline. It's just you can hear the conviction. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, God. Thank you, man. And that's the validation. That's all I need, man. And me and us creating the open relationship with the people where they could feel secure in supporting us because they don't see us with all of that bullshit, then that's enough. And that's all we can do. All we can do is support you. If I don't know, I know I can point you in the direction to find out. And in the meanwhile, here's this, here's that, You know what I'm saying? And then that's that. Hopefully we work to the point where we don't have to even be on Blog Talk doing this shit. We could be in the dream world doing this shit. You know what I'm saying? They make movies about that shit all the time. So I'm like, nah, man. We need our own mythos in our own place to not be beleaguered by what's going on. And again, as you can see, the white man ain't the one telling me that I'm whack and all this other shit. White man ain't never bootlegging no tape from me. The white man ain't never bootlegging no tape from me. How I'm so whack, but then you want to take credit for me at the same time? What you really saying? You don't even know. So how can I be upset at somebody who don't even know what they really think, man? Anyone who's like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's so. I don't know if you. I thank you for that, man.
And I don't know if you remember our first conversation. It was actually, this was like about a month before this circumstance happened. And I asked you about. I said, are these niggas? Do they want to free people, or do they want to put themselves in a position to be in charge of the people? You know. And then it's crazy how this shit happened to you.
Yeah,
it's like these niggas got Cointel Pro in their DNA or something.
That's what I'm trying to say, G. And they don't even realize how they telling on themselves. They don't even see it. They don't even see it, bro. Nobody's co-signing that. Nobody co-signing that. But like I said, you know, I was really upset with him, but you know, I don't even hate him now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, bro.
You know, good people can do bad things. Now, I'm not saying that he's a good person.
I'm
saying
man.
Good people can do bad things,
That's
man.
all.
And he's really hurting, man. That dude is really hurting right now, man.
Like I said, he was the only one. He was the only one out of all of them that gave me the proper money for my masters. He's one of the only ones. He's the one who showed me how grimy these niggas are. So it just bugs me out. Yeah, it was him. I've always given him respect in that vein. It's just that I'm not gonna. After that first time we worked together, that was it. Because it was too much. And he was involved with shit that I really wasn't really feeling. But I don't feel as a man I should always have to just come out and tell you, yo, son, I don't really. That's too emotional, son. Like, we don't have to do that. We're men.
But sometimes you know what? He's not even the source, man. But we need to stop letting these demons run amok, though. But he's not even the source. He's like a symptom.
That's what I mean.
It's a true source. Maybe those quote-unquote elders are the true source, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Because he had to be tapped on the shoulder to be able to present himself like that.
Or it's the people above them.
Correct.
Somebody.
Correct.
But it ain't him. He ain't Oswald. Correct. This nigga, I know that he, you know what I'm saying? Right. And I've been in situations with them, in situations where, you know, I've seen, you know, when you ever talk to one person, and then when you talk to them, you see all the other people that they didn't talk to you about in them.
Right,
right. One of them like that. So I know he's capable of that, or they're capable of that. But in the end, that's not even my business. Whatever they want to say, whatever they want to do, so long as you don't come around me, come around my event, you know, whatever's whatever. I can't stop you from mentioning my name. But the more you do it, the more it's going to splinter in you. And this is for anyone, for any of us. Like, I'm just an example. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just somebody who's living this, but I'm real enough to tell people, hey, this is what's going on. But these niggas want to act like they don't need no help. These niggas want to act like it's all together. So God forbid something happen. You see what I'm saying? It's already in the public record. Therefore, it's not going to happen. So, you know, real G's know you don't talk about shit you're going to do and leave evidence of it.
Man, I'm not even get into what he was talking about. He got cousin got gold teeth that came from Angola. I'm like, what? Is this dude serious? I'm like, he's really hurting because don't nobody talk like that, man. I'm from D.C., man. Nobody talks like that.
Real dudes don't talk like that, son. That's what I'm saying. You sound like a hurt female, man. That's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. You sound hurt, and in the end, I'm hurt because I don't feel that we should have to be like that. That's why I'm not participating in it. I'm only talking about it because he brought it up. But anybody heard the shows after this, I ain't even going in on that because it's not even involved
in
me
I just want to say, you know, I really, because you really could have been, you know, saying stuff off the wall. I say, you know, you handled yourself properly, you know.
Thank you, brother, and I appreciate
that was a beautiful
you.
Thing. That was a beautiful thing right there. Yeah.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it, man.
All right, no problem, man. Peace to your family and all that, man.
You too, my brother. And thank you again for letting me know and peeping it, man.
No problem.
With that, be peace, my brother. I'll speak to you on the private.
All right, peace.
Peace. Yeah, man. This is all love over here, man. I don't have no hate for nobody. I don't have no hate for nobody. And nobody really got no hate for us. So whatever was said or whatever said from that person, we wish that person peace and love and healing and responsibility and right action and foresight and knowledge of God, man. Get right. We all got to in the end. And all of this metaphysical shit, we can't let it get to the point that we don't acknowledge each other as men. And as a man, as a brother, you know what I mean? This is an extend out to anybody that we've ever had problems with or has ever had problems with us. And we should all extend this to everybody listening. Put it out there in your home, wherever you at, that whoever you got problems with, who got problems with you, you hope and you pray that they get their shit together so that way it don't have to turn into nothing. Because this is not the time for us to be engaging in that. And we don't have the time to be wasting time on people we not really even really mad at, yo. I'm not mad. We're not mad. Oh, you want to say something?
I was passionate, though, because it's something to be quiet and to be in a space where you're not mentioning harm on anybody and you're not wishing anybody destitution or anybody pain. And when your name, comes up and when people continuously try to, just not be nice to you, it can really hurt and it can feel as though, someone has the power to do something in your life when really when you sit with prayer, you know that ancestors see and hear everything. And if we have faith in our ancestors and the people that have laid their lives down before us, then there is no fear. And I think what hurts and has hurt the most is that I've really never wished anybody, especially those individuals that we were talking about, any type of pain. I really want their children to grow in love. I want them to be great at what they want to be great at doing. I just don't like when people wish my family harm because there's only 3 of us. I don't have a whole bunch of anything. And what I do have, I've really valued. And the entity knows that so much so that sometimes it comes at a fear to try to trigger and annoy me. And my goal is to be such at peace that I can know when it's happening and really pray for healing and love. Because after my Oya comes out, I have literally abstained from Facebook, abstained from all things that make me feel sadness and annoyance. And I've just been praying a lot for people's healing and for no harm to come to anybody doing this type of work because it is so not about that. So we wish love and peace and tranquility for all those people who utter disdain in my name and in my child's name and in my husband's name. I wish no harm. So the more my name is uttered, the more people try to defame my character, the more people try to tarnish who I am to other people before we meet, it will reverberate in the ethers. It will reverberate in the echoes and in the voices of the ancestors. And the octahedron that I am building and that I have built around myself and my temple and my son will be so strong and has so many mirror reflectors around it that whatever you want garnished against me shall be triple turned against you. So wish me love so that you will receive love, as I wish you love and peace. And I know, and God knows, that that's what I pray for and talk for at night. So with that, I really wish everyone peace. And when you hear the drama, literally move, which is what I did. Ashe.
Ashe. That's what it's about, man. Letting shit that don't matter truly go. You know what I mean? And sometimes when things really matter, you got to let them things go too in order for them to realize how much you matter to them. And it wasn't until the voice of God was taken from the devil that the devil had a problem because he couldn't hear the song of creation. That's what the Aborigines say. So if we're supposed to be following this ancient culture and understanding how it works, we got to implement that and start with ourselves. So I'm starting with me. And again, I didn't really take it personal and everything. I don't want anybody to misassociate passion, you know what I'm saying, for certain things with heavy, like, emotion. Like the emotion that you exhibit sometimes when you really getting in on the truth of shit, how it really is the voice of the Creator speaking through you at that moment. Because truth is what God loves. And truth is power. It's born to equality. But this reality exploits truth for ritual. So you got to be aware. So this is what I mean when you get into things like what I'm saying with all of these banks, to wrap it up, is that at the end all, the be all, the person that got to sign off on everything, Evelyn Rothschild, who's going to sign off on your treasury charge back or whatever it's going to be, he got to do that. And the person who got to do that for him is Geithner. And Geithner is in bed with Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs runs the Treasury Department. Goldman Sachs is the reason why you ain't going to have a post office in a little while. Or why they're going to try to flip that. Anybody remember the movie The Postman? The government got reconstituted when they started running the mail again. Kevin Costner. And the dude that they was fighting all had 8s on their chest. Saturn. So, when it comes to things like nationality and stuff like that, we must re-examine the application of these things. And I think we'll have greater success in modulating between understanding what we perceive, what all of us want to agree on what nationality, whatever it is to us, and us allowing people that whatever they agree that that's what they're going to do, they go into a group of people who do that. So, this way, everybody has the fullest extent of their expression within their own individual culture and group. So if you're a Rasta, roll with the Rastas. And when the Rastas come to the parliament, the Rastas build with the Kemites build with the this. It's not like everybody in one group just building. That's the same group building together. It's everybody's representative of their group building together. And as opposed to a bunch of niggas from one group speaking, it's this one guy who's been prepared by the group that he's representing, the ideology that he's representing or she's representing, to come and express that. The one person who's exalted by his group or her group to be that speaker, do that. Usually, based on the fact we need astrology involved, it should be somebody with a highly exalted Mercury, but who is more grounded in understanding people's interpersonal relationships. The problem with foreign policy now is that all of foreign policy is a dance in which everything needs to be taken over covertly. Whereas prior to World War II, everything was open. You just attacked somebody. You declared war and you attacked. They don't do that now. They soften the country up over a couple of decades and then go in and just clean up the mess. So Iraq is the new Vietnam, but Vietnam and Iraq are just the new Wild Wild West. That's why you can go there and just shoot anybody you want. And they're doing the same thing they did back then. Back then you had Billy Kid, Pat Garrett. Pat Garrett decides he wants to get money. He joins up with the union. He agrees to go catch Billy the Kid. So Pat Garrett now becomes the man, and now he has to chase Billy the Kid. But both Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid both had the same outlaw tactic through the masonry shit to destroy the national banks of the darker peoples of those regions. So they both playing the same game. It's just catch me if you can. It's that whole we be down with it. That's why they don't kill no serial killers or no people, no tech people and stuff like that, the so-called nerds. Once they catch them hacking, they give them a job. Because the devil understands that people need to live. Yet he only let them live as long as they serve him. So once you finish serving him, it's over for you. Therefore, the limit that we create is only bounded by how much of it we give ourselves, or how much of ourselves we give to it. So in that, the dream, again, is the place that, one of the only places in which you can influence your physical reality as a means to bring the information out into your present. So sometimes I dream of certain symbols and images or whatever, and then when I see them appear in the world or through TV, it makes me want to do the research more, and it winds up cooperating what I'm saying. Now, if I'm making myself see it like that or not is irrelevant, because it's still my choice to do so. Just like it's my choice to allow myself to release something that I know isn't true, that I prefer to do the opposite. So in that, there's no controversy. In law, if there's no controversy, there's no case. So that means that anybody that is working to create and perpetuate controversy through fiat is bound to lose. So the best thing to do is deal with it off the rip, so that way you don't have to deal with it later, and I'm speaking from my own experience. So, again, we want to say, peace and love to everyone who has tuned in and who continues to tune in and who doesn't let our positions influence their opinions of who we are showing ourselves to be, because I don't know what else we can be. So in the end, we are all judged or seen by what it is we do. So being that I can't be responsible for what anybody else does or what it is they want to do, I can only do me. And hopefully work to create a world where we're doing me in a sense to be us. Where each one of us can have that free expression to be ourselves, yet be a part of everything, and then be a part of everything else without having to be guarded spiritually or astrally. Yet until then, work to maintain yourself in solid colors. Think about why you wear the colors and stuff that you wear during the day. See how that reflects your mood, because these things are indicators to your true personality, and you want to use those as a means to navigate yourself freely through what's going on and not get too caught up in what other people's expectations of who you are to them is. You can only be who you are. You can't be what somebody wants you to be. Because the more you work to do that, the more the real you begins to rebel against you. And then you find yourself at war with yourself, which right now is one of the primary influences, being that we've just entered Gemini. So those people that are interested in the totemic dream navigation classes, please email us at houseofl@hotmail.com. Or you can check out some of the new material we have on our website, www.aseertheducateers.com, or check out my brother's website, www.sagaasad.com. And inshallah, we'll speak to you soon, man. I hope all is well. Anybody, again, that needs to holler at us about the class, holler at us at houseofl@hotmail.com.